Okay, thank you. Okay. We are good. We'll wait for Harry.
Yeah, just give me one more second.
Sure.
Here, Alex says his mic is not working.
Oh,
He's
yep.
trying to do.
All right, we're in action. Like, hello.
Hello.
I think I'm on.
Yes. Just
Okay.
voice
I can
though.
see. Oh, there we go.
No
all
picture
good.
of you.
Okay. Start video.
There's a
There
video
we
button in the
go.
left-hand corner.
Yeah, we got him now.
All right, perfect. Now I feel much
There you
better.
go.
Alex, in the lower right-hand corner, there should be a mic. There should be a mic button that you can hit. It's probably on mute on your computer. It's on the lower bar. I have one, but anyhow, just let me know when you want to get started.
Yeah, it is showing that Alex and Bill have their mics muted.
Yeah, I just mute it when I'm not talking.
Oh, okay.
He said his new headset's not working right now.
Oh,
Okay. Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, we're good. I can't see
All
you,
right.
but that's can everyone else
Oh,
see?
I can see Harry.
I can see everybody.
I can see Harry.
What is going on with my system?
Just went off. Oh, there you go. We can see you. Okay.
I don't know why. Okay.
All right. Anyhow, let's see. So, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the regular meeting for the North Branford Planning and Zoning Commission for Thursday, April 2nd. In attendance are regulars. Oh, this is going to be tough. I don't have everybody's little signs in front of their name. So, regular members, let's see. Sienna, Mays, DiFrancesco, Gail Denzi, and myself, Dulac. All right.
Can we just just because this is new, maybe have each of those members just confirm?
Yep, that's a good idea. Perfect. So I'll just call them out, and then you say if you're here. Bill Galdenzi.
I'm here.
Okay. Ron Sienna.
I'm here.
Trish Mays.
Here.
Alex.
He's here.
He did text here.
He's chatting.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. That's good enough, and I'm here as well. All right. So the first order of business is the minutes from the previous meeting. Did everybody? Did you? Were they out? Did they get sent out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Did everybody have a chance to look at them?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Does anybody need a second, or would somebody like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 5th, 2020.
Okay, and the only thing I can't see, Carrie, is who was there for
Alex
that.
is
Was there?
seconding.
Alex seconded.
Seconding.
Okay.
So
Carrie, can you tell me?
Yeah, Harry, Bill was there, Alex, Trish, Ron, and all of us. We were all there at that meeting.
Okay, so Trish made the motion, Alex seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Let's do
Aye.
this. I think we better do this. I think we better do this almost like a roll call vote, Carrie, to make sure that we get everybody in there.
yes.
So, okay, Alex, you can type it in.
He votes yes.
Okay, Trish,
I vote yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
and myself, I move to approve. That passes 5-0. Let's see, next order of business is new business. Application 2016-3, that's an extension. So Carrie, you want to take it away?
Yes, sure. So, let's see. So on March 12th, this is in your packet, also available on the town's website under the Planning and Zoning agenda for April 2nd. There was a request from 1010 Middletown Avenue LLC requesting an extension of the site plan approval for property renovation located at 1011 Middletown Avenue. They wrote, during the past year, we have been very busy with our construction business, performing large projects both in the state of Connecticut and out of state. Consequently, our labor force has been limited and has forced us to slow down on the building work. We are again continuing our work on the building and property and now estimate a completion date of winter 2021. Sincerely, 1010 Middletown Avenue LLC, Vincent Capasso. So again, this was approved, it was approved in 2016, and so they will be expiring next March, but they just wanted to request another 5-year extension.
What is this? I can't remember this one. I
This,
remember the name.
it's
Can't
across,
picture what this is. Yeah, go ahead,
across
sorry.
from John's Refuse, so the company of 1010 Middletown Avenue, they do a lot of stonework, and they had received approval to renovate an existing warehouse building that they own and occupy, and they were adding solar on the roof. It was quite an extensive project, very sustainable and green project. They're not changing the scope at all. They were one of the first
Good.
companies to receive the assessment deferral program as well. And Tuesday night at Town Council, they did receive approval to extend that assessment deferral program as well.
Okay, good, thank you.
So the recommendation from me is to grant the 5-year extension and keep the same conditions in place that were there 5 years ago. They were standard conditions, with the exception of a comment letter from the building official, town engineer, fire marshal, and East Shore District Health to comply with their conditions, but I'm not recommending any changes.
All right. Does anybody from the commission have any questions?
I do not.
Being that it's pretty straightforward, would somebody like to make a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve.
And that's Bill?
Extension, to grant the extension.
Yes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is that Trish?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, so we'll do a roll call vote again. Alex? Yes.
Yep.
Trish?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And I also vote yes, that the extension is approved 5-0.
Now I can see you. Will you tilt the screen just a little bit more, Harry?
Wait.
Toward down. There we go.
There you are.
Mr. Chairman.
You like the beard?
Yes. Oh.
I'm not shaving until I get my hair cut.
Oh, God. Then they're gonna meet in the middle.
Yes, they are. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a good quarantine look.
Yeah. All right. Oops. Let me go back up to the next bit of agenda, which we have is now other business. It's a discussion regarding accessory apartment with common place and a proposed accessory apartment on 9 West Wind Drive, which I think that was in your packet as well. I just gotta find it here. So Carrie, you wanna give us whatever information on that, or?
Yes, sure. So, this is, again, it's really a policy question for the commission. It's relating to an accessory apartment, that also contains common space. So what I'm going to try and do, without making this too complicated, is I'm going to try and share my screen. Because I just want to, let me see if this works. Did I lose everyone?
You're frozen.
Now I see, Ron, nice background. How's the water? I just saw that. How's
He
the
was,
water?
he was swatting mosquitoes earlier. I saw him swatting.
Ron's still on spring break in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, exactly.
It was hell getting off that boat, though.
Yeah.
All right, so that's not going to work. So,
Okay.
The regulation for accessory dwelling units, as you all are aware, requires that, or limits it to 750 square feet for the accessory dwelling unit. That dwelling unit has to share a floor, ceiling, a wall with the principal dwelling unit. So the question is, the regulation doesn't address common space, which can be, in my mind, a utility room, a laundry room, mechanical room, bathroom, garage, obviously, all of those things. And this application in particular is being used kind of as an example because they're proposing to build not only a garage that would be attached to the existing principal dwelling unit, but also an accessory dwelling unit, and then again this common space that contains a laundry room, mechanical room, and an office. And that's what was in your packet, is the proposed floor plan. So this really just has come up because, and I wanted your take on it per the town attorney's advice, to get a read on this common space question of, is it just a simple case of labeling that as common space, or do you feel like it needs any more discussion? Is this making sense? Yeah.
Does a common,
Go ahead.
does the common space put the total accessory dwelling over 750 square feet?
Yes.
Okay, what does it put it at?
Well,
If you added that to it?
so this particular case, it's about 400 square feet of common space, and then the accessory dwelling unit is 750. So it would exceed the 750.
Yeah, so it's 400 more.
So Carrie, let me ask you something. In our packet, if everybody wants to go to it, I know Carrie's trying to pull it up, but I think it's page 8 of 26. So Carrie, the one question I have is, it says exiting garage. So is he building another garage on top of, next to a garage?
So I also want to mention Brian Panico. I did invite to the Zoom call, and he is here. So,
Oh, good.
If you're okay, Harry, with him participating, I'll let him answer that. But so I'll let him answer that.
Yeah, please. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize he was here, but welcome, Brian.
Hi, Carrie, do you need me to state name and everything for the record
Yes,
still?
please.
Yes, please. Yes.
My name is Brian Panico. I'm a civil engineer with Harry Cole and Son out in Southington. I'm also the principal of Panico Design. Carrie, I'm not sure, I don't have the packet in front of me on which page that is, but there is an existing garage. Currently, the house is a drive under, so the garage takes up half of the basement itself. And so that's where the connection to the proposed garage would be.
So I don't know if you can see my screen. This is kind of the best I can do without just sharing
there
the
you go.
screen.
Yep. Oop, it's gone.
And actually, so that right there is actually depicting the first floor of the existing house, and its connection to above the garage, with then depicting the accessory apartment, basically the roof of the accessory apartment in common space area that Carrie's holding up now.
So let me ask you a question. So when you exit the house, you're going into the second floor of a garage, and then downstairs onto a first floor of an in-law apartment. Do I have that right?
So if you were in the first floor of the house itself, I don't know, Carrie, is it possible for you to?
Oh, okay, I see it. You're on, Carrie, if you can show everybody page 10 of 26, that gives, okay, so your house is an upper elevation. So the garage doors are gonna be below the first floor of the house. I see
Correct.
this. Yep, I'm on that page 10 of 26.
And Carrie, is it by any chance, is it possible for you to enable sharing screen for everyone else? I don't know if that's,
Let me see.
Yeah, I was gonna try to share mine, but it's disabled. Because I have in my package too.
I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. This is my.
All right.
Let me
Okay,
try
let me-
and share
let me
mine
try.
again. I know, Brian, you probably have the more detailed.
yeah.
Try to right-click on Brian's name, and it might say make him a presenter. I don't know, that's how Skype works. I don't know if it works, Zoom works this way.
Brian, are you the owner of the house?
I am correct.
Okay. I didn't know if you were the person who designed this, or the owner, or both, potentially.
Yeah, so it's both.
Okay.
Correct.
So if I make him the host, Bill, you think?
I thought if it was, sometimes it's make presenter, you know? You could. Because I get
mean,
a,
we all have it. Why do
Yeah.
we need to share this?
Well, I'm gonna try it. I just made you the host, Brian.
yeah, because you're, yep.
So Alex just sent a question. So as Brian pulls this out, the question says, so the proposed garage will connect the two different topographies.
Yes.
Yes, and so there is access, essentially, the existing house has a set of stairs that goes down to the existing garage. And so you could use that to access the existing garage, then access the proposed garage, and then continue on into the common space and into the apartment. Or on the first floor, we've created a connection, so that from the first floor, the living space of the house, you continue into what would be finished space with the garage, and then there's a set of stairs down to the common space as well to connect the two. So there's kind of two connections.
So, and I think my question for all of you is, as the zoning officer currently, I could review the this application as under a zoning permit, and could easily declare just the apartment as the accessory dwelling unit. And the other space would be pure common space, which he could build as of right today as an addition onto his garage and house. But it was a question for an interpretation for the rest of the group, and
So Carrie, so basically, if we did this in two steps, one is so let's say, hypothetically, he builds the common bath, the mechanical utility room, and the home office today, right? So he gets a permit, puts all that up, and then tomorrow comes in for accessory dwelling. If you do in two phases, it would fit our regulations, correct?
yes, I would think so, right, because then that initial addition would be deemed as common space and part of the principal dwelling unit, because you also don't call out the garage as being part of the accessory dwelling unit.
So basically, all we're doing is trying to take two steps and make it one, for the most part.
No, I think the problem is the use of the word common. Does that go to the
Yeah.
accessory, or does that go to the principal? That's, I think, the bigger question.
True.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he builds, let's say he builds that common space today, and it's complete. Let's say it was all done today, and then he came in to do the accessory dwelling, we would approve it. We would approve both of them. One for the common space, and then one for the accessory dwelling, because both fit our regulations. It would just be a two-step process.
Yeah, my initial reaction is, if it wanted to be more clean, is just take out the word common.
Well, then it doesn't fit, the 750 square feet.
Yes, you would just say, instead of common
So-
mechanical room, just say garage closet, and instead
Oh, I
of
see,
common
yeah.
bath and laundry, just say garage bathroom, or
Yeah.
So-
home office bathroom.
So Carrie, going along the logic of Terry, if it was a two-phase process, when he went to build, so he did the common or whatever we call it space and it's complete. And then he went to build the accessory that linked to the common. Would you have to consider that existing common in the calculation or no? Because it's being utilized by both now, so
Right.
it's not really as clean as it sounds, right?
Right.
Because you're attaching it, so you
Right.
are kind of sharing it, right?
Right. I guess the only other examples that I have to compare it to, we don't, so if you look at a more traditional in-law apartment where there's one on the first floor and one unit on the first floor and another on the second, we don't calculate that vestibule as part of the second unit.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know, as a comparison?
Yep.
So similarly, we wouldn't calculate a garage as part of that accessory dwelling unit living space. So in that instance, we would not calculate common area, but we've never called it common area. It's just part of the other principal dwelling unit.
Could I get a little clarification? Are we talking about a rental unit or a in-law apartment?
Brian, do you want to answer that?
This will actually be an in-law apartment. So this is for my mother-in-law, correct?
Okay, because, just to back up where I was coming from, where I converted a house and the common area had to be its own separate electrical supply, because like the lights in a common area are used by the house and the apartment. So conceivably, the owner of it could shut off the lights in the common area if there's a feud going on. So in the common area, I know in Middletown, it has to be its own separate electrical and heating, whatever that's worth.
And
But if it's an in-law apartment, it's the family and,
yeah, and unfortunately, and I know Carrie and I have talked about this a number of times, there isn't a justification in the regulations between the two that separate an in-law apartment from a accessory dwelling unit, or just a regular accessory apartment. The other thing is in regards to heating system and electrical. The electrical will all be fed from the street as it is now. So they're going to share a common electrical service. So if the electricity gets shut off to both houses per se, it's going to get shut off to both. You couldn't necessarily just shut off one from the other. And I guess that would be more, in the event that, something else got shut off. The only difference is, I believe, as of right now, we are planning on doing an independent heating system for the whole portion. So that part will actually be shared between the area above the garage and the common space and the accessory as well. But it is an in-law unit.
Well, and also if it had separate electrical, it might be considered a multi-family, so you also don't want to go separate electrical.
but that was my initial question. Is it a rental unit or an in-law apartment? In the in-law apartment, they could share everything.
Alex asked a question. So he says, so the proposed garage will connect the two different topographies, but you could not with the square feet.
I think he means adding the square footage. I'm not sure.
So Alex, I mean, let me just, if you add the common area together, it's more than the 750 square feet that a accessory dwelling, okay, he's saying no, two different questions. All right, well, can you clarify that?
His first question about topography was answered. His second question is, you couldn't, you couldn't do the common space, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, because it would then go over the square feet. That's what I'm
Yeah.
interpreting the typing as.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's my argument, just what if that space isn't used commonly? My argument is just take the word common off. You didn't say common home office. So if you put common on home office, now we're having this debate, it could be used common or it could not. Just take common off. Say garage utility room, home office bathroom. I mean, I just think it's we're putting so much on a word that it might be that,
Well,
it might not be that.
For me, it's not so much the word, it's actually going back to something you remind me of, Trish, all the time as precedent. I'm just looking at it, just trying to make sure that we're not setting a precedent where you can basically come in and do 750 accessory dwelling and then have this other space that's shared, and now you have an 1,150 square foot addition because you have this other space that's common. I don't care what we call it. I don't care about the name. I'm just looking at the facts of you're coming to us with a 750 plus 400. And we're talking about something in our regulations only allows for 750. In principle, I don't have a problem with it. I just more go to the precedent that we've got to be careful because that's why we have regulations.
Correct, but if he just came to us and didn't say common, he could do this anyway. So that's why it's like
I don't know. That's why I asked the question earlier. If he built in two phases and he builds this 400 thing that is shared, and then you come and put 750, knowing that you're sharing that, is that considered part of it in your calculation of 750? And Carrie used an example at least one example that I think the answer was no, but I don't know if it applies to this one.
Well, yeah, and Bill, and one thing I do is, like you said, setting a precedent, because you could do this on any in-law apartment where you wanted to go bigger than 750. Say, well, I'm going to do an accessory dwelling, but then I also want to expand, this my house as well. So that, I mean, that's something that really does have to be considered. Very well taken point.
What's wrong with that though? If you expand your house and add on the accessory,
Well,
isn't
if
that
you-
supported in our regs?
You're expanding your house to have this shared space, and you're bolting it on to an accessory dwelling that has limitations. So it's like you have 750 and then you keep adding on this other space that you call it your house, but it's a shared space. So in principle, that accessory dwelling has access and is using it too. So at what point does it not become 750 anymore? I just want to talk about it. In principle, I don't have a problem with it. I just,
Yeah, and I think that in
If
truth,
it's never, if he calls it common and if it's never used by the mother-in-law, then it's not common. If she uses it once a month, is it common? That's why it's like, it should just maybe resubmit it and rename.
well, Trish, here's the
It's-
other thing.
You don't use the living room above the garage. Is that now common space?
Well, I don't think that's
if it's used, for example, I don't know what it's being used for, but if it's a common washer and dryer and, right? Things like that. So now your 750 doesn't include a washer and dryer because you have it in this common area. Well, are you really 750 or are you more? And where does it end? It goes back to precedent, right? And just making sure we think this through, that's all.
Yeah, and Bill, one of the things, and Trish, so when we say like it was two-phase, that was the first part of my question, like if we built one part, as an expansion and the other one as accessory dwelling, but you couldn't do this with this plan. You could build part of it, like the home office and the way it's set up, and then the accessory dwelling to it. So that's something that's got to be taken into consideration as well. If it was set up where, let's just say, completely left of the garage, the proposed garage, you had an office, a bathroom, and a utility room, and then off of that you had this in-law apartment, then you could say it's really two phases. You could build phase one and phase two separately if you had to. If that was the case, you could probably put this straight through. But being that you couldn't do it with this, because they are all inclusive, and it looks like, in Bill, set of precedents, it looks like it's an accessory dwelling. No matter what we call all this stuff, it looks like it's an accessory dwelling over 750 square feet.
What's the difference between, you said an accessory, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. You said an accessory dwelling or 750 square feet, or you said an accessory dwelling and 750 square feet?
I said over 750 square feet.
Oh, an accessory dwelling
Yeah,
over, sorry.
yeah.
But tilt your camera down a little bit. Can't see your whole face.
Okay, let me take a look here. There we
There
go.
you go.
See the teacups in the back?
And actually, Carrie, since you're talking about precedents and setting precedents and all this, correct me if I'm wrong. No matter what, anybody going for an accessory apartment use, that would have to get reviewed by you or by the zoning enforcement officer before it got approved anyway, correct?
Yes.
So even if we sit here and we think about, okay, common space, so you just used the example, the vestibule that divides the two units. Well, that's common. Both of them have to use it. In order to get from one unit to the other, you have to use it. So that is technically a common space, no matter how you look at it. Now, if the unit, like you said above, is 750 square feet, then that's no longer compliant with these regulations. So in this situation, if I do take the words common, like you're suggesting, off of things like bathroom or laundry or closets or office, then the only common feature becomes the hallway. And the simplest way to divide those two would be with locks on doors. If you don't want the accessory user to have access to that and you no longer want it to be common, you simply have a lock on the door that has a key, and the homeowner is the only one with the key and the tenant is not, and therefore it's no longer common. It's no longer accessible by both. And then therefore the hallway itself becomes the only common, quote unquote, common space.
Would they have access to the bathroom and the washer and dryer in your example?
As it's proposed, yes.
I mean, I'm sorry, do they have their own bathroom and washer and dryer?
Bathroom, yes. Washer, dryer, no. But I don't think that washer, dryer is.
Yeah, no, yep. They have their own bathroom though, so they don't need access to this common bathroom.
Yeah, they do not. No, this,
Okay.
as designed, the unit itself is totally self-sufficient and would meet all of the international residential code for everything, life safety and everything. So,
I guess that's more where I was going to, is maybe that's a good way of looking at it for myself, is it's 750 is self-sufficient and the common space is not needed for daily living and operations. Therefore, it really isn't, you're not just trying to bolt on things. I was concerned that, like, if they don't have access to things that are essential and they're going in this common space, then it's really not. You'd have to include it. For me, I'm almost thinking, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think if they're self-sufficient and they don't need anything from the existing house or the common space, they have everything they need to live in that space.
Except for the laundry room.
Except for the laundry room, yeah.
I think that's a good point. Yeah, if it's self-sufficient, then the common isn't included. Alex is typing. Okay, hold on. Who is to say what it is? Once it's granted, a person could use it for whatever they want it to be, because the town does not go and check until the house is sold to the next person.
And that's the whole question. That's the whole question,
Yeah.
whether it's 750 square feet or larger.
So I guess
think
my
because it's
question,
If somebody does buy that, let's say somebody buys a house, and we've had this happen before, and all of a sudden the in-law apartment is 1,000 square feet, it becomes a major issue.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it happened on, I believe a few years ago, if anybody I think it was on was it Durrell? Where somebody either bought, or was in the process of purchasing, or on the process of selling it, and they had this large, that was, it was not either non-conformant, or it was too large, or there wasn't a door, and there was a few things wrong with it, I believe, that we had to really take a look at. So it can be an issue down the road.
I guess my question would be, was it permitted? Because if it's permitted, and Carrie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the building official's going to walk through all this, see all of this, and they would know that everything is built to the correct size. I mean, I'm not sure, we haven't done this yet in North Branford, at least with my company. Do you guys require as-built, foundation, or final? So,
Yes, well, and for this especially, it's new construction, so we would require all of that. A lot of the accessory dwelling units that we've seen in the past that haven't complied maybe morphed into accessory dwelling units over time and then didn't go through the proper process. And what you're all saying is why I wanted to have this discussion, so that it is, if it is permitted through my office, that it's documented appropriately, saying that the unit is X square footage, but then there's a common area that's, part of the principal dwelling unit, but shared by both, or however you feel we should phrase it. Because it's the appraisers who end up identifying these issues, like Alex mentioned. It's at the time of sale when these are identified as, are there permits? And I would think in this situation, it wouldn't be an issue because it is new construction. But it's just better to talk about it, because this is more of a policy thing going forward as well.
I like Bill's explanation, because the unit is self-sufficient. It could stay at the 750, and the common space isn't part of it.
Except for the laundry room. There's no laundry in the rest of the 750 square feet.
Yeah.
There is a bathroom. There is a bathroom. And then there's that utility closet.
It's a tough one, because in principle, I mean, 750 should be entirely self-sufficient, right? I mean, that's why we've limited it to 750. So, but if you have the ability to spill over, then I'm not sure that's achieving 750. Something it's good that we're talking about it, as Carrie mentioned. Right, most we've had in the past, there may be a common staircase and it goes into the accessory dwelling.
Right.
That's it. And then that's a self-sufficient unit. You don't have this area that's kind of shared common space.
so if I were to then just remove all of the notes and all the verbiage from all these plans, calling it out as common, and then it only shares as, I don't even have to call the, access common. I don't have to put the word common on any set of plans anywhere, that then, would that be sufficient?
Personally, I never had a problem with I think if anything, for me, common drew my attention to it, but I don't have a problem with the name. It's more the facts surrounding it.
I feel like if the word common was never there, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
No, yeah, we would, because you wouldn't be able to build it because it's over 750 square feet.
No, because he could have just said it's for the garage.
Yeah, but you gotta, I mean, it's not, you could see it, that's the whole, when you look at this, when you look at an accessory dwelling, picture, you have your house, right? And you wanna build an accessory dwelling, what you do is you take that 750 square feet and you put it off to one of the sides of the houses. It's one complete 750 square feet. Just picture this. Then, maybe down the road, you say, you know what, I wanna expand my house a little bit. I wanna go out a little bit. You do in two separate sections. This is being done in one section. That's why I'm saying that's why, as Bill's mentioned a couple times, this is the first we've seen something like this, and maybe this won't be the last, because now there is a way to get around the 750 square feet. That's all I'm saying, is that this is a way to get around that, saying, okay, well, I'm gonna move my, and Brian, don't take any offense. I'm gonna move my laundry, call it a common laundry, but I am sure in Brian's house, in his main house, they have laundry there. So I'm just saying, we just don't want to we want to make sure that this isn't a way around the 750 square feet. I think that's the most important decision we have to make.
No, and I definitely understand, and I think that, like I said, kind of as I introduced this project, I think that the bigger problem here is, the difference between an in-law and an accessory dwelling unit. And the problem is that, unlike most towns, or unlike many towns, I should say, there is no delineation between the two. You go to a lot of towns, this common area issue isn't an issue because it's defined in the regulations that you're allowed to have a certain amount of it.
Right.
So we're kind of crossing into new territory here. And to go back to your point, if, talking about construction, if I were to construct this without the accessory dwelling, this is what I would build. I would build everything from this blue line back to the garage, and that would be my structure. This area that is part of the accessory now, I would just be using that as storage. I would build that. This is what I would propose. I'd build all this as is. This would all be, as I called it out, this would be storage. This would be my home office, and there would be nothing back here. And and as I've talked to Carrie, this right here, this would be approvable. I could go build this tomorrow. I could bring my plans in. So I definitely understand. And I understand the problem in the issue of setting precedents and everything like that. I just, like to think that, there is still, it's not like we're saying that this would then be by right either. And I could understand if this were an issue of something that if you make a decision now and it becomes it's something by right for all homeowners, then there's no checks and balances anymore. But there is still checks and balances because it is still going to zoning enforcement. And if zoning enforcement, just like this project, if zoning enforcement looked at it and said, you know what, I'm not 100% sure, let me bring it to Carrie. Carrie looks at it and says, you know what, I'm not 100% sure, I don't feel comfortable, let's bring it before zoning again. That's always, I think that would still be a possibility.
Well, yeah, just like it is doing this, yeah.
I'm not sure I understood the zoning enforcement, because we're the approval, the governance of approving, right? That's just the enforcement arm. We're trying to, you haven't built this yet, so there's nothing to enforce. We're trying to approve it.
Well,
Enforcement comes later. I'm not sure I got that, that's all. Maybe
so
you
this is,
clarify.
I think it's because what Brian's saying is this is being brought to you as a policy interpretation, so there's not an actual application for you all to approve. This is an interpretation, so similar to this situation, if there were gray areas going forward, the zoning enforcement officer or myself would bring it to you for interpretation on the policy side of things.
Okay, yeah, sorry, gotcha.
Carrie, are you familiar with what other towns consider common area? What they attach it to?
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
Trish, I don't, some, I believe kind of the reason why we don't have that is because we wanted to make sure it was a separate, you know, the in-law apartment was a separate apartment or separate structure. With no, you know, maybe with a common, with a common hallway or something like that, but no shared, you know, no common areas, no shared parts of the structure.
I mean, is this something worth looking into moving forward to account for it? Or you guys, when this was designed, that was purposefully left out of ours?
Well, I think it's because we don't want, you know, we don't want these, you know, houses to just be able to just get, I mean, just these expansions into potential apartments. You know, we want, and Ron was, had a lot of comments on this, that we want to, you know, when our parents or grandparents get older and then need to be taken care of, you know, we want to bring them into our house to take care of them. There's an expense with going into other areas, you know, whether it's some kind of assisted living or over 55 community. So this is a way that we can, you know, take care of our, you know, parents and grandparents, and without making the potential for an apartment, you know. So that's why the 750 square feet. I mean, just what was it, about a year and a half ago? Where were we before? 400, Carrie?
600.
600?
Yeah.
So even, you know, and because there was a number of folks going to ZBA, you know, we looked at what those asks were, and so that's where we came up with 750. And I'm just saying, and I'm just throwing it in, Bill, just as you mentioned, Senate Presidents, that we go over 750, that could be an issue, and it doesn't go to ZBA. I mean, it doesn't go to zoning enforcement office. Somebody would make a plan, submit an application, it would come to our board, to our commission, planning and zoning. And then, Brian, once it's set, there's not a lot we can do to make a change, just to let you know. That's why we're having so much conversation around this, because once we put this in place, somebody comes in with something very similar, we can't say, well, no, you know what, that little tweak there makes the difference, because if it fits the regulation, we can't deny it just because maybe there's something just a little different or something like that. So that's why it's very important to get this right. Brian, what's on the second floor of the garage?
It's going to just be a, like, finished storage, finished area. I'm not 100% sure what we're gonna do with it. It may end up becoming a kid's playroom at some point, but right now it'll just be empty, finished, flexible space.
You know, to differentiate it, you know, I'm going back to, like, if the in-law apartment or accessory dwelling, if I'm using, I don't know if they're interchangeable, if it's 750 and self-sufficient, it should be considered separate. So which means, you know, maybe move the laundry room, you know, move the washer and dryer. You know, because again, you know, someone could call something common space, but then it's never used by the people in the you know, the people in the accessory dwelling unit. So is it really common anymore? So as long as that is self-sufficient, it could be separated, which then poses the, you know, the laundry needs to be moved.
Brian, did you go to you went to ZBA, correct?
I did.
Okay, Carrie, can you give a recap of what the ZBA, what that, everything that occurred there, or Brian? What were you asking for?
Carrie, would you like to field this? Because it was very contentious.
Sure, so I forget the exact numbers, but essentially Brian had completed a variance application to increase the size of the in-law apartment to exceed the 750 square foot allotment, which, what were you asking for again?
I think I was asking for about 1,100 or so
Okay.
square feet. It was 1,000 or 1,100 square feet. So that I could combine all of the common everything, with the exception of the home office and the bathroom. I think basically I added a laundry room, and the hallway connecting, from the outside in was all part thereof, the structure, and I counted all of that, including utility rooms and stuff like that.
So I wasn't at the meeting, but it's my understanding that I know it was denied, but the reason why it was denied is not because of the size increase, but two members started focusing on part of the definition, which requires that the accessory dwelling unit, it says, both dwelling units shall be attached by a common wall, floor, or ceiling, not simply attached by a breezeway or porch, and shall be contained in one building. So at least two of the members kind of focused on that, which is not what he was requesting a variance for, and I did not see an issue with it because the ZBA applications do come to me first, and I felt that by adding on the proposed garage and the proposed accessory dwelling unit to the existing garage, which is part of the existing house, that was much more than a breezeway, and if anything, they shared a common maybe ceiling or floor because of the topography differences. But it was all part of one unit, so I didn't see that that was an issue. But as a result, there were not 4 votes to approve the increase in the square footage. So then Brian came back to me and said, all right, either I appeal this or we talk about reworking and looking at the redesign. So this is a redesign that he came up with, and then, as I mentioned, I talked with the town attorney to try and figure out how to interpret the common space, and that's when she recommended coming to the commission to get your take on it. So what?
Alex has a question. He said, so looking at the ZBA ruling, this new design corrects to what the ZBA saw wrong? That's a question. Does this new design correct what the ZBA saw wrong? I don't think it does, but Kara, I'll let you answer that.
No, I would
'Cause
agree.
What they saw wrong was a shared floor.
So, and just to correct that, I would say 2 of the members felt that it did not have a shared floor, ceiling, or wall. There were 3 who voted in favor of granting the variance, and again, the variance was being asked for something different than what the other 2 members were focusing on. But no, this redesign doesn't switch it, doesn't change the location of the accessory dwelling unit. It just reorganizes what is part of the principal unit and what is, or not principal, what is part of the accessory dwelling unit and what is part of the common area.
Carrie, I just gotta circle back here. When you said the ZBA, you said 3 of them voted for and 2 against?
Yes, and they need 4 positive votes.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
So, and it is interesting, again, this doesn't really help, but just to read that definition again, talking about both dwelling units shall be attached by a common wall. So in the definition, it requires a common area. It doesn't help us in that it doesn't define the amount of common space, which at some point when we redo our regs, this is something maybe we should look at. Because to all of your points, you don't want to have an accessory dwelling unit that's 90% common, and then a smaller accessory dwelling unit. But if it's an in-law apartment, it's also being shared by family members. If there's 1 meter, maybe that's a difference as well versus if you're renting it. There's a lot of different factors.
Yeah.
If it fits within the character of the neighborhood, which is another requirement, which this does.
Well, what I'm gonna say is that I gotta think this one over. Unless somebody can sway me one way or the other, I still got, I gotta really look at I gotta really think this one through. I'm not sure how everybody else feels on this. I mean, is this something we feel we can give some guidance tonight, or do we need time to really think this through?
Well, I have a question. Is your mother-in-law parking in the garage?
Correct. Yes,
So are we gonna now say the garage is part of the accessory dwelling unit?
That's what technically, I guess you would be saying, is since it's used by both people, it's part of the accessory dwelling. However, I do believe that in the regulations somewhere, Carrie, and this is off the top of my head, so I'm not exactly sure where it is, but I believe that the regulations call out that it's livable space.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't consider the parking, yeah.
Right, right.
However, like utility rooms, it does take out of that calculation. I'm not sure if access ways or things like that. I'm not 100% sure.
Does our regs care talk about
It's not
livable?
an access way. Usually it's its own separate door, and so and that's one of the reasons why to the folks at ZBA is because what you have here is a like that breezeway or this walkway, which is usually not there. Usually it's right butted, an in-law apartment is really butted up to the house with its own separate entrance. You need a separate entrance, you need that vestibule because you have an office there. So I can understand where ZBA was kind of looking at that. Because
So this is not the same plan that ZBA saw.
Well, no, but you're still not, you don't have you're not using a common wall.
So the garage being all walls is not common wall?
No, but you have that breezeway in there. See, that's not normally how these in-law apartments are.
Where is
We
the
put plans
breezeway?
on all of them. But what they do is you have a door and you walk right into your in-law apartment.
Well,
You're walking down through a vestibule or whatever you want to call it. That's not usually, they're usually, it's the end of the house, the beginning of the in-law apartment with nothing in between. So I can understand where, I don't even know if this would be considered a common wall.
So where is there a breezeway or a patio dividing the two properties?
So the doorway, that when you walk into the front and then you make a left to your office, that is a walkway that's not the beginning parts of the in-law apartment.
Correct.
In other in-law apartments, when you open the door, you're walking directly into the in-law apartment. Those are how those, at least the applications that I've seen, and in many we've done, that's how they've worked. You have to walk down, whatever the entranceway, past the office, all the way down to get into the into the accessory dwelling. So that's what I'm just saying, that's why it's not so clear cut.
Well, the only thing is, if you look at this sheet, this is where it shows that it is attached. There's not like
No, but Carrie, I'm looking on page 11 of 26. Let me see what it says there.
the floor plan.
Yeah, so if you look at the floor plan, so in all the accessory dwellings we have come up in front of us, when you open the door, whether it's from the garage or from the front entrance, let's call it, you walk into your in-law apartment. That is not the case here. So that's all I'm saying is that it's another thing that we have to consider.
So can I ask a hypothetical?
Sure.
If there was no common space here and you went directly from the garage where my mother-in-law parked directly into the in-law apartment from the garage, that would be more clear cut. That would work?
It could.
But that would put you over 750 square feet.
It would, but see, the problem that I'm stuck with right now is that I need to try to come up with a solution to fix to try to make this work. And ZBA denied my plan because they said that it wasn't a common wall. And you're saying that this doesn't work because you're entering through the common space to get to the in-law. So I guess my problem is I'm just trying to come up with a solution that everybody might, I'm not trying to come up with a solution that, you know, everybody doesn't feel comfortable with or that creates some sort of a town headache in the future. So I'm trying to get some more interpretation of how we feel and what we're thinking. So if I were to take this and somehow rearrange this yet again, so that you enter from the garage directly into the apartment, and then I take my utility rooms, my offices, my other stuff, and I put it elsewhere, does it then meet the requirements? And I guess my other confusion here is that, you know, once again, if I go and I build my garage in all this proposed common area that I'm calling common, I could go build all this tomorrow. And then I come back a month from tomorrow, once my foundation and my walls and everything is framed up and done, I say, oh, I'm gonna add on this other, you know, at that point, it would probably be 600 square feet. I'm gonna add this 600 square feet for accessory apartment. That still would then meet the regulations. So I'm just very much confused as to, you know, where to go from here. Because I've continually thought that I'm working within the regulations, and I keep getting told, no, you're not, for things that don't seem to make any sense to me.
I think Bill said, we're trying to make sure that this doesn't turn into where somebody can easily get around the 750 square foot in-law accessory dwelling.
And it is
because in this town we have a lot of them, and there's a lot. I mean, we have a lot of them. A lot of them for us in the past. We just need to make sure that whatever we do, that it doesn't turn into that. So that's why Carrie had, you know, you come here, and that's why there's a lot of folks are, you know, are kind of him and hawing both ways, because there's something, you know, there's a couple things here that complicates it. And I'm with Bill. This seems pretty easily to do, but once we do it, it's set in stone where if somebody else comes in, they can easily say the same thing and just build a, you know, 1,100, 1,200 square foot in-law apartment, to be
The
honest.
house set in stone is, the VA was gonna say you could build 1,000 square feet.
Well, hold on. So I think the ZBA, from my understanding, the ZBA rightly so is saying there needs to be some common shared wall, right? Because what we don't want is this separate structure, you know, that really is an apartment, right? So if they're bolted up next to each other, it kind of ensures that it's an accessory dwelling. What you've done is you've put a space in between, which then, so without the space, if they're up against each other, I think you're meeting the spirit of the ZBA, right? Because you just have a common wall, and it would meet ours, I would think. Now you open up this common space where now you have shared space, and that's where we're coming from. Now you've created this additional space that's in addition to 750. That's what my concern is. So I think, personally for me, I see the ZBA's position. I think I wasn't there, so I don't understand the details, but I know they're looking for a shared wall, not a shared space, a wall. So you can't do it separately. We're concerned about this shared space because now you're in essence, you've created, it's not 750, it's 750 plus this shared space that you can do anything you want in it, really. I know you might not want it, but looking forward, anyone could, right? You could put anything in there. And now you don't have 750 because now they have 750 plus 400. That's where we're coming from. So I kind of see both. So
If you're going to rework this, I think the key thing is that the 750 square feet has to be its separate entity. So, you know, that you having a shared laundry room, that laundry room, I'll be perfectly transparent. I'm thinking that laundry room, because there isn't one in the apartment, the 750 square feet, that puts it over to 750 square feet, because that's not common. Because that's not common, because the only person that's gonna be using that is gonna be the person that's living in that apartment. I mean, you can call it a bathroom, but I'm saying that's what we have to look at. You know, because you're not supposed to be sharing common spaces. So I agree with Bill. I mean, if you want to try to rework this and make this work out, I mean, to make it so it fits our current regulation, because it's very important. Again, a lot of folks in our town are having their parents come in, and we commend you for that. You know, taking care of our parents and grandparents, whoever is very important. And that's every time it comes up in front of this commission, we're all on the positive side of that, but we just got to make sure we get this right.
So, just so it's clear and I understand here. Basically, let's forget the laundry rooms there. Whoever lives there can go to the laundromat in the center of town, because then it's no longer common. Okay, so there's no laundry room there; it's just utility.
See now, Bill, Brian. Now you're saying, you know, I'm now. See, when you say when you put it like that, then I'm going to say no. Then you're going to send your mother-in-law out to do her laundry. I mean,
but the problem is that we're not talking about mother-in-law. This is not an in-law. There are no regulations justifying in-law versus accessory. So my thought is, if it's my mother-in-law, then my wife, who's a nurse, is going to do her laundry anyway, regardless of where it's done. She's going to do it if I'm taking care of my elderly parent. But the problem here is not in-law is not in-law. The problem is the commission is concerned that if I turn this into an apartment at some point in time where I have a tenant, what is the use of it then going to be, and how much square footage?
No, Brian. I think at least what I'm concerned with is that you turn in the 750 not into an apartment, but, and I'm not saying you're going to do this, but you could take this. You could take your office, the utility closet, the common room, and say, I'm just going to reshuffle it all around and just make that whole area 1,100 square feet for my mother or mother-in-law. And that's what we're worried about. Not saying you would do that, but that's what we're worried about somebody else can do. And that's not the spirit of the accessory dwelling for the in-law apartment.
Yeah, I go back to the ZBA. It's a shared wall. So you have your existing house, and then there's a wall to go to your accessory dwelling. They have to have that wall because we don't want separate structures. So you have a shared wall, but it doesn't mean you have this space in between.
Well, it does say,
I don't
Bill,
think-
just to clarify, it does say
Yeah.
wall, floor, or ceiling. So in this case, if you look at that one sheet that has the aerial view of the existing house, the proposed addition, and the proposed in-law, they would be sharing really like a floor and a ceiling, because it would be the floor, or the ceiling of the proposed addition of the garage would be shared with the roof of the in-law. Does that make sense?
I'm not concerned about the shared wall, because it shares it. I agree with what Bill and Harry are saying. The accessory dwelling unit has to self-sustain and be completely self-sufficient on its own. So the laundry should be part of the accessory dwelling unit, not common space.
So I guess, Carrie, here's just the easy question, because this is all evident. Now, it's sounding to me like there's no more necessarily argument that the garage dividing the two, the garage with the finished space above, dividing the existing house from the accessory unit is an issue. And anybody please chime in that let's ignore the common space. If all of this was one unit, all of that was one piece, is it sharing a wall, ceiling, or floor? I guess is the question. Regardless of the size, let's say it was 750 square feet. I was proposing no common space, no nothing. It was 750 square feet with the garage in between the two. Does that work?
Yeah, shares a wall with the principal dwelling unit, yes.
But Brian, if you do that, then you are basically sharing a wall. I mean, you got the door there. You don't have your office there anymore.
It's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're not sharing. You don't have that walkway or that entrance way all the way down. Yeah, that's what our normal in-law accessory dwelling looks like. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think The hallways.
Wait, Brian, can you pull up that picture that you showed that you had the line drawn on it, and you said here, you had it split? You remember, you know which one that was? Which drawing that was?
This one here?
Yeah.
I just drew this on what was the floor plan.
No, so what I'm saying, just, if you can just show that, hold that up, and I just want to show everybody. If that line, everything in front of it going towards the garage was 750 square feet, that's what the in-law apartments usually look like.
Okay, so now here's my big problem. I went to ZBA because I wanted that line to be a little further back and for it to be 1,100 square feet, and they denied me. Not because of the square footage. Nobody had a problem with the square footage. I was denied because they disagreed that it was sharing a common wall, which is your decision to make, not theirs, and the regulations' decision to make, not theirs. So that's why I'm back before you. So Carrie, I think that this is futile at this point. Is it now, does it make more sense for me to just go back? Obviously, I can't go for 6 months now, back to ZBA. And now my appeal period is over because we thought we could work this out in-house. So at this point, I have no more, I'm out of possible solutions to this problem. What should be my next step? And I guess you and I can have that conversation tomorrow. I guess I think that we've kind of.
Well, Brian, I want to take, like I said, I got to look at this a little more before I make a decision. I really got to think this through, look at the regulations, definitely go through a little more and see what kind of options we have.
I also think a hallway's fine. Who's to say that the shared wall has to open right up into the place? Just because other people did it that way, you know, our regs are not so specific that says, well, you have to walk right into the living room, not even the kitchen.
Oh, no.
I think having a hallway is fine because it shears the wall. You know, I'm just gonna keep circling back to the accessory dwelling unit. Yes, it has to satisfy the shared wall. And then that laundry room has to become part of the accessory dwelling unit.
Trish, I agree with you. But if that was all for just the 750 square feet, then it could be a hallway because you can have, you know, your bedroom off to the left. You can have that hallway. I'm good. That is correct.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
That hallway has to be part of the 750.
Right. Yes.
I
Yeah.
got what you're saying.
Yeah. Exactly.
Alex is asking a question. Did you guys read it?
He's asked it a couple times.
I can't see it, so can somebody else?
He says, if you put the mother-in-law on top of the garage, would that work?
It would, but then there'd be no handicap accessibility for whenever they get older. They'd have to go up a flight of stairs every time they wanted to get into their unit. And that kind of, it just slightly defeats the purpose and the longevity of the unit as a whole. So that's why we were trying to keep it on the same level as the garage itself.
Brian, is there any way to put the laundry in the unit? Because
I mean, if that became like the deciding factor, I could easily show a stackable washer dryer in there. Yeah, I mean, it takes up a total of 2.5 feet square.
would the commission be more comfortable if he came back with that plan to me to be approved under a zoning permit? If there was still an office space in the mechanical utility room, but the laundry room was within the accessory dwelling unit?
It makes it better, and I would eliminate the door from the living room to the mechanical utility room. And then you eliminate that door, you move the laundry back into the 750 square feet, then I think you can start, and then we would just have to make sure that the common ceiling, I mean, that's just my take. Bill, I'm gonna throw that over to you because you're talking, you know, especially about Senate President on these. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're important. I want to keep splitting hairs, but just simply moving the laundry and still having access to the space isn't what I'm talking about, but I think you said to eliminate the door, so.
Eliminate the door in the common utility room. There's still gonna be that bathroom that you know, it's still gonna be there, but it's not gonna have the laundry.
Yeah. I just mean, what I'm saying is, and Brian, I'm not saying you would do this, looking holistically and down the road. But what I'm saying is just by simply keeping everything the same, say, and just moving the laundry into the 750 space, you still have access to 400. You could do anything you want. You could put it back, you could create other things. So I think you'd have to, for me, it's gotta be, I think you said, don't have a door that has access to this space.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with Bill on that.
So like in this case, from the hallway to the office, what would you suggest? Would I have to have a door from the outside to get to the office then? If I'm not gonna have a door from the hallway, so that it's not non-usable, I guess, you know what I mean? I understand what you're saying, but if I'm gonna do that, where do I enter the office?
Well, I'm not gonna, I'm not a designer here, but if you put if you had the office,
Yeah, what I was gonna, Carrie, I'm not trying to punt this off to Carrie, but I think for me, it's like I think you've heard I don't know if it's consensus, but maybe we can all come to an agreement, and then that we can kind of give to you how we feel about this, and then you can kind of work offline, because we're not gonna solve this tonight, right? Or are we trying to solve this tonight?
I mean,
Do you understand?
the goal is to provide enough direction to allow him to move forward so that he's not
Right.
held up anymore. As it is, like he mentioned, he was going to appeal the decision, and we had original
Yeah.
plans to meet in March, and then with the COVID and everything, we, postponed that meeting. So I think you've given a lot of direction, in my opinion, as far as the accessory dwelling unit has to be self-sufficient, which is not only bedroom, bathroom, living room, kitchen, but also laundry. So that needs to be within the unit. Right? Is that correct?
Yep.
I'm gonna try to sum this up, and maybe Trish and Bill and Ron and Alex maybe opine on this comment.
Alex has another suggestion.
Who?
Alex, he said, take the mother-in-law apartment, have it adjacent to the main house, then put the garage in front of the mother-in-law, and that will solve the floor plan and the handicap access.
Well, I kind of agree with Harry, like, however you design it, wherever you move the pieces around, depending on where your leaching fields are, your septic, et cetera.
Yeah.
I think the consensus is the accessory dwelling unit has to be, everything that is needed for that has to be in the 750 square feet. So if you want to take your home office and put it on the other side, that's up to, you and your land, but that 750 has to house the laundry within it.
Yeah, I think one of the things, Brian, that's really difficult is that we really need to see two entities. One, the 750 square feet is a completely separate unit than the other 400 feet, the other 450
Well, and
square
see
feet.
that, and I respectfully disagree with that, because, the idea within the regulations is to keep the character of the neighborhood. So if I make it such an obvious separation from architecture perspective, if I make it such an obvious separation that you look at a piece of paper and say, oh yeah, they're two totally different pieces, it's very difficult to then tie those two different pieces back.
I'm sorry, Brian, I led you the wrong way. What I meant is within the floor plan, there needs to be two separate entities, meaning that you need your home office and those common places need to be a separate entity where the in-law apartment doesn't have any access to it and vice versa.
Okay.
That's, what I'm saying? That's what I mean. That's what I mean by two separate entities. That's what it would make it easier for this commission to approve. If that 750 square feet had a separate entrance, no exposure to these other areas that could possibly expand it, I think we could get to what you want, but they have to be separated somehow, some way, so that it doesn't potentially, again, as Bill said and everybody else said, not what you would do, but what somebody else could do. Say, okay, well, I got these kind of parts, and I'm just gonna kind of keep them separate, but then all of a sudden they blow it up to 1,100 square foot. We don't want to see that. But we understand what you're trying to do, so if you can try to keep it into two separate entities within that footprint, that would make at least me more comfortable.
Okay.
Agreed, agreed.
Hopefully that made it a little bit clearer. So, do you want to work with Carrie on that, or take a look and see what you might be able to do, and then come back to Carrie, and then we can have another discussion maybe in a couple of weeks or whatever?
I mean, you tell me, Carrie. At this point, I don't know what my options are. I mean, it almost sounds like what the commission, and correct me if I'm wrong once again, but it almost sounds like what's being recommended is that, it almost needs to be a site plan. A site plan approval almost, which,
I wouldn't,
I think so.
No.
I guess they, I don't think so, because I'm just not sure what it would fit under the regs.
well, that, I agree. But my question is, if I'm working with you and then we're bringing it back before the commission yet again.
Right.
And doing this multiple times, it's essentially a site plan application, getting approval. And I guess my only problem here is that, as Carrie's mentioned, I started this process, months and months and months ago. And I'm just trying to come up with, at this point, a solution that I can actually build within this year.
Well, I think I said it earlier, and I maybe that's what Harry meant to say, is I think what we're trying to do is kind of come to an agreement tonight with what we think the direction is, and then you and Carrie work offline.
I agree, and
I think Carrie's pretty clear on what Harry just said it. I agree with what Harry just said. It's got to be, it's what Harry said. I don't have to reiterate what he said. I agree with what Harry said.
We just gave you the solution.
Yeah. So now work with Carrie on the details. I don't need to see the details. Carrie knows what our expectation is, and I trust Carrie.
Yeah,
Carry those out.
What I did say was that, two separate entities, you can, however you're gonna build in that footprint, but that in-law apartment needs to be completely separate from anything else that's there. And basically two separate entities.
Yep, 700 square feet has to be individual and separate from the other structure.
Yeah. I hope that gives you some guidance, and maybe, again, working with Carrie, come up with an equitable
Absolutely.
solution.
Absolutely, and I thank the commission very much for all their time, and I will look forward to working with Carrie to try to kind of resolve all of this and
All
get.
right, thank you very much, Brian.
Brian, before you go,
Yep.
I gave you ultimate power and made you the host. So before you sign off, if you could just go into participants and switch it back over to Michael Paulus, which is actually me.
All right, you should be all set. If you want to
Thank
double check and
you.
make sure.
Yes, it just popped up.
All right, perfect.
Awesome. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, so next
The
on the
next order of
agenda.
business is the, a bond release.
Yes, so in your packet, there was an email from Bob Wiedemann. It says, "Hi, Kurt and Carrie. He'd like to request the soil, I'd like to request the bond release for our soil and erosion bond for Bridgewater Estates. It's due to renew on 4/22/20. The current amount is $8,600. The only active lot we have here at Bridgewater is Lot 30. So this is for the release of the sedimentation and erosion control bond, which the town engineer was in agreement with, that we could release that $8,600 in its entirety. So if there's just a motion to approve the release of that bond?
I move to approve the release of that bond.
Second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All
So
right,
that
I
was
think
Bill.
Alex seconded, but I,
All right, so I'll just do a vote. Alex,
he's a yes.
Trish,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So that motion is approved 5-0.
Thank you.
All right. Let me just scroll back to the top here. Next is a discussion regarding multiple dwellings in business zones.
So, several meetings ago, we had Eddie Lawton come in to talk with the commission informally just about the potential development in the center of Northford at the Northford Triangle. There were 3 buildings that have been constructed there, and he's interested in building a 4th building. But he's looking at a different design than what's there. He's looking at a 3-story building, and so he talked about some concepts with the commission. And he's also been working on some possible text amendments relating to multiple dwellings in B1, B2, B3, and MBP districts, which we really don't have any MBP districts. It's all business. So in your packet, there are some, he outlined the original text versus the proposed amendment to the text. So again, the original text, if you look in your packet, talks about the dwelling units shall be served by municipal sewers and public water, and the commission may, at its discretion, permit on-site well and water supply only when approved by East Shore. He's proposing to add in well, water supply, and on-site septic, only when approved by East Shore District Health. And currently in the regulations, it says that there shall be no more than 5 such dwelling units in any building, and each dwelling unit shall be restricted to 1 bedroom. He's proposing to have it say no more than 6 such dwelling units in any building, and each dwelling unit shall be restricted to no more than 2 bedrooms. So just kind of wanted to get your take on that this evening. He also, I'll just go over what's included, and he also has joined the meeting this evening, so if he could have the opportunity to speak, but he included a statement for proposed change, just about his background and what he's looking to do. And then also in your packet are just some images of examples that I'll let him talk about briefly, if that's okay.
Sure.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, so included in there was some design ideas, because I remember from the last meeting, we were talking about a 3-story building, and it could be unattractive, which is definitely a concern. So I put some examples of utilizing the same roof line as the existing buildings, but utilizing dormers to make it aesthetically pleasing to the project. So I don't have them in front of me right now, but there's a lot of different options to make it look very New England style with trims and dormers and that kind of thing. So I think that would, be useful for just kind of a visual of what we're looking to do.
Harry, isn't that section in the quasi-historical district?
So not that I know of, no. Do you mean the Northford Triangle in particular?
Yes.
I think it's east of the triangle, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, across from the pharmacy?
Yeah, I think so. From there going up a little bit up 22 and then down 17 towards Durham.
Right, and also there's a few historical structures going up 22 towards the ice pavilion. But the triangle itself, I do not believe is deemed historic. So in this text amendment, the potential, this is not an application again, it's just for discussion purposes, and it's really just more of an update to let you know that, Eddie Lawton is still looking at this, seriously and wanted to provide some images to just, as he said, show, and back up what he was talking about. But then the text amendment would apply to a B1, B2, B3 districts. And that would, if he submits an application, would have to go to public hearing and go through that whole process. But this is more just to give you the visual this evening and see if you have any comments or questions.
I don't have anything at the moment. I have to read through this a little bit more, to take a look. I mean, one thing, Carrie, we would just need to take a look at, a map, just of all the potential properties of this and how it would affect them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as usual, I mean, we'll consider anything, but we just, you know, we'll have, we'd like to, I mean, at least I would like to, is look into this a little bit further.
I agree.
Ron?
Yes, I agree.
Perfect, thank you.
What do we allow right now in B1, B2, B3?
5 dwellings, and I think they can only be 1 bedroom.
Oh, that's what he said, so he's just trying to increase it, yeah.
Yes, I think it's 4 or 5.
Right, okay.
It says five such dwelling units, and all are 1 bedroom.
Yeah.
He wants to go to 6 dwelling units and a max of 2 bedrooms.
Right, you know, and the potential of 3 floors, correct?
Yeah, the bottom floor being business, and then the top 2 being,
Hey, Carrie, don't we have a limitation of 37 feet or something like that?
35, yes.
35,
So,
yeah.
in my
Okay.
conversations with Eddie, he's not proposing to exceed that 35-foot height
Okay.
restriction.
Unless the design district makes you put something fancy on the roof.
Alex has a question. He asks, what area of the triangle would this potential project encompass? And the question is it, the other one, is it all of the wooded area?
So this would be in the part, if you're looking at the entrance to the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, right across from there, there is an open green space beyond the parking lot. And there's also a playground that we might need to relocate to the side of the building. But it wouldn't be taking, where that hill is, it wouldn't be going into that hill. That hill would remain.
So you're talking about right in front of where the back of the dentist office is and the daycare?
Right, and on the side of there.
Okay. All right.
How come, I'm just curious, how come you want a business on the bottom? Is it because it's a requirement, or that's just the direction you want your project to go in?
It's a requirement, and also we own a real estate company in town called I Heart Homes Real Estate, so we want to put our office there. We currently own, it's a condo complex where the buildings are owned by 3 different entities, and the development rights is what we own. We just purchased them, and we currently have our office in the lower level of one of the building that we own, the basement level. So we'd like to bring it up to the main level.
Okay.
One question for you, and would you consider maybe a percentage of 2-bedroom and a percentage of 1-bedroom?
Yeah, I would, because we definitely want to do 1-bedrooms also, just to meet the different needs of renters in the area, because most of the time, the building we own now currently does have 2 bedrooms in each, but they use them as offices because one's a single woman and the other one is a couple that doesn't have any children. So they just use it as an office or extra area.
Okay, so I mean, and that's for the couple, right? So they have 1 bedroom, and then they use the other bedroom as an office for the most part, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions for Ed? I mean, is this something that are you willing to, consider?
Yeah, I like that it's not major changes. It's a little baby step. So, yeah.
And again, and, you know, one thing we would have to do is when we, I know you're looking for one specific area in town, but when we do a text amendment on any regulation, it affects, you know, North Branford, you know, the entire North Branford, area, so we would have to take that in consideration. I mean, it would be really nice if we could do spot zoning, but that's not legal, so we can't. So we do have to take a look at it holistically across the entire town when we do that.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have anything for Bill? I'm sorry.
Nope.
I feel like when we didn't we just amend this text within the past year or two?
Yes, we did, but it was focused on the size of the parcel, I believe, in relationship to the number of units.
Yeah, because I was wondering how we came up with the number 5, so we'll just have to kind of reopen that again.
Well, that 5 we did not change.
Oh, okay, that was the same?
That
It was-
has been in there for quite a while. Let me
That's
just
good to know.
see.
'Cause I remember it was a simple change, but we talked a lot about it. So again, as we always do, just to flesh it out thoroughly.
Let me just find that real quick. Let's see. It was that lots in the B1, B2, and B3 districts shall contain not less than 10,000 square feet for each dwelling unit. So it was the size of the lot. So the
Okay.
lot has to have at least 10,000 square feet for each dwelling unit.
Again, a dwelling unit, is that another name for an apartment?
Yeah, well, yes. I would say even a house could be considered a dwelling unit,
A dwelling unit, okay.
right?
Yep.
As long as you dwell in it.
Well, about the current state of
There's a lot of
affairs.
people dwelling in their units right now.
Yep.
Okay, so we do have a definition. Dwelling unit is a building or part of a building designed for occupancy and so occupied by one family. Accommodations occupied for transient lodging in a hotel or motel shall not be considered to be a dwelling unit.
And not for anything, maybe that's something you can also tell Brian, because that's the definition of the the accessory dwelling unit,
Yeah,
so,
Right.
right. But not to,
yeah. Okay.
so as far as any guidance, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with some of the language in there, but it's worth considering. Does anybody have any, I mean, should we have Ed move forward with this? I mean, we can tweak it, is it text amendment, or is there any game stoppers in it that you can see?
No, because even like our original regs say, the commission may at its discretion permit on-site well and water supply only when approved by East Shore, but then the change that's being considered is permit on-site well water supply and on-site septic. So it's just adding, it seems like, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, is just trying to add in the septic.
Yes, correct. Because we shouldn't have to require people to connect to sewers if they have good soils and
Right.
it's approved by East Shore to use septic.
Yeah, so that, again, it doesn't seem like a huge change, nor does the number, so it seems favorable.
Anybody else? Alex?
Well, let's see what Alex is gonna say.
No, I keep on waiting for, all set here.
Yeah.
Alex, you gotta check in every 5 minutes so we know where you are. So, I mean, Ed, I hope we gave you some guidance on this, or anybody else? I'm sorry, Ron, Bill? Anything else?
To be honest with you, this Zooming and, there's a learning curve. And to be honest with you, I have a very bad copy of the changes. So I was hoping to contact you, Carrie, to get a clean, readable copy.
Okay.
A copy because you printed it out, or it was mailed or emailed?
I think it's the way it was printed out on my printer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because what I have right now, I have my phone with you could always have another computer, but I have my phone with the paper, and then I'm on my laptop.
Right,
So
well,
you're saving yourself some
Chris,
paper.
we all don't have good eyes as you. Most of us need.
That's what I'm saying. You could get a bigger if you have a desktop, but that way, Ron, I mean, you could save paper. You're gonna waste your paper and ink printing all this out.
I think, Ron, they don't have good printers down in Turks and Caicos down there.
Ron, if you're up here.
I'll have to speak to the concierge about printing me out a copy.
Yeah, for sure.
Ron, if you were up here in Connecticut, we would all be running to your house to grab some of that leftover paper, because we're all kind of running out of toilet paper up here. So, but anyhow, Ed, I hope we gave you enough guidance on that. It's something that we're willing to take a look at. Again, that's not meaning we were definitely going to approve it or not approve it, but we have to take a look across North Branford and also take a look at the regulation itself. So, I mean, you can start the process to move forward.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely very helpful. I appreciate you guys taking the time to start the discussion about it, so
All right, thank you very much.
thanks.
All right, so the next order of business is
so we have discussion regarding farm events and residential zones. I had this on there because it had been on from March or from February, so I would recommend that we just continue this, because,
okay.
yeah.
Yep.
Then you want to move on to discussing Tilcon?
Yes. So I may try and share the screen if that would be helpful, or let me know. So in your packet, you received this, hopefully. Well, again, it was an email version. This is a zoning map of the town. And I put this square around the area that I wanted to talk about this evening.
Okay. Hang on,
And,
hey, Carrie, just hold on 1 second.
yeah.
I want to pull it up and I want to,
Let me see if if you guys just bear with me.
I was trying to rotate it, but I guess I can't.
All right.
There
So,
we go.
do you guys see my screen right now?
Yes, I did for a second. Now your computer just went off.
Yeah, I see your login screen there. I can see your password.
Don't look at my password, please.
No, I couldn't see
No,
the
I know,
password.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. So, this is the area of,
By the way, her password's 44850.
oh my gosh, you did see it.
Sure, it's the name of her daughters somehow. Some combination of them.
No, that's her marathon time.
I love planning
Ah,
and
yeah.
zoning.
Yeah, I love planning and zoning.
Okay, so the question is, Tilcon, see where this little hand is?
Yep.
Tilcon owns these properties, okay? This gray area. Their property line, I'm gonna try and zoom in if I can. Of course I can't. Oh, maybe I can. No, that's a search.
We can see it pretty good.
It's, yeah, it's pretty big on
Okay.
my screen.
It's
So-
pretty big on my.
So their property line goes at an angle, right here, where the hand is, for
Yeah,
this gray area. For some reason, on the zoning map, it shows it as being zoned on most of the parcel as I-1, and this small triangular piece as being zoned R-80.
okay. So let me ask you a question. What about those, the
Sorry.
properties that are right above it that are in orange? What are those? I-2 or R-4, or where's it go?
Those are R-80. Those are definitely R-80.
Okay,
And what Tilcon's question is to you all is, we believe, and I would agree with them, but I wanted your interpretation, that that is an error. I don't know why only a small sliver of this parcel would be zoned R80. I think that it was intended to be zoned I1. They are proposing to rezone these two rectangular shaped parcels I1. They're going to come before the commission. And their question is, should they just submit their application for these two parcels, or should they include this sliver as well? Or is that just an error on the map?
well, we can't assume an error, but I mean, if they're gonna do the other two, why not just do it all together and?
Do the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't understand why, just
Okay.
do it all.
Okay.
Unless.
Much cleaner.
Why they wouldn't wanna do it together.
Yeah.
So my only thing with this, and maybe this is what we do at a later point in time if we ever redo the regulations. If you look at this key over here, it has zoning district boundary lines, and this solid line is clearly labeled property line.
Right,
But it's, in many cases, like the one that I just shared with you, is not the property line.
gotcha.
So there's just a discrepancy that I just wanted to bring to your attention. Whereas
Yeah.
if it were to be, if it were dashed like this, that's other line, and that's where it doesn't follow a property line, it's the center line of a street, railroad, or water course, and that designates the district of the boundary line, but it's another line, it's not along the property line. So that's,
Yeah, and Carrie, the one reason why, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, the reason why I'm just thinking of why somebody might do that is, they could say, if they wanted R40 and the I2 to be separated because those other properties, maybe at one time they weren't Tilcon, so they didn't want Tilcon property to go right up to somebody else's property line. So they said, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll have everything I1 in this little portion over here, so it doesn't go all the way up, doesn't butt to somebody else's property line. So maybe that's how it was at one time. You know, they just want to keep a buffer in between, but just tell them to do all of them together.
okay.
Yep. Anybody else? I mean, I don't want to speak for the whole group.
Is this, my question, is this an official map that you would determine this? I mean, are there records that show that this is an I-1? You know,
So that-
some assessor mapper, is assessor whatever,
Yeah.
deeds, surveys, whatever?
I
Or
mean-
is this the official determining what's zoned? I mean, could this be an error is what I'm saying? Could this be an error?
It could be. So this
Right?
is the map that I use, but that's not to say that, you know,
I mean, this
if
can't-
I
there-
did
there
like
must be some other information that they could draw on. They're a big company.
right, like a, I mean,
Can't they look through, have their lawyers look and say, well, actually says, in this piece of document, it says we go all the way to this property line. So then it's just a matter of shading it a different color.
right. Well, in the file and like a title search would show that. I think, you know,
Yeah.
the applicant is just looking for kind of the easier way of like, okay,
Yeah,
if we need to
okay.
include it, then we'll include it, and
Yeah.
then we'll just survey
Okay.
it, and,
Yeah.
you know, because I think they would have to survey that area, or maybe they just would state, they could simply just state, continue to the property line of the, you know, whatever, northernmost portion of
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
Forest Road, or whatever that address is.
Why wouldn't they do all 4 pieces of property?
Well, I don't think they own this one here.
Which one?
No, like,
Which
in the
one?
oh.
Oh,
they
that
don't-
little piece, really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think they own, I think this is actually the land trust. So, here, I just want to show you one other thing.
Oh, so Carrie, so now that throws the whole thing in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, back to your point, Harry, right?
I thought they owned all of that. That's what I'm saying. Maybe they want a buffer between I-2 and that person's property, but
So this is owned
That's why
by,
I'm almost thinking there's something more official than, they were basing it only on this, kinda, it seems,
So
so
maybe it should be more data.
yeah.
so wait, Carrie, what's in red there?
that is that piece that, you all thought was owned by Tilcon, but it's not. I just wanna show you, I'll
Oh.
zoom out a little bit. This is the zoning, so this, I've zoomed in, let me figure out how to zoom out a little bit.
Oh, that's
Oh,
helpful. Yeah,
now
that's
I see.
super helpful.
Okay, now it makes sense, Carrie.
Do you see what I
Now-
mean?
Yeah.
That's the town?
This is the town-owned property, here, it's gonna zoom out, but this is Tilcon.
The red,
It just
wait, so look.
zoomed way out, let
so
me
Carrie,
zoom back in.
That red area was town property, right?
Yes.
That's land trust now?
No, it's town, I think.
Oh, I thought you said, okay, town, yeah.
I thought it was land trust, but,
So
Yeah,
now I can see
gotcha.
why that sliver, Carrie, was not, that looks intentional. Somebody probably owned that property at one time, and they said, well, we don't want Tilcon completely surrounding our property, so let's make that our 40, they end right at that, or our 80 or whatever it was, and they end right at that property, that boundary line.
so yeah, see how it,
Yeah,
so this is owned, this one that's outlined in red, and this one to the north
Yeah,
is owned by
Tilcon.
Tilcon,
and
and
then
that's,
the next property above that.
that's Tilcon.
Oh, okay, now, I mean,
Now, yeah, starting to think more about this big industrial company. I think they would want something more.
And they
Well-
also own that little sliver.
right. Carrie, you know why they want to expand?
They wanna keep quarrying.
Yeah, but can they keep, how much, they can keep on going back, right? I mean, it's.
Well,
is that
these-
what's-
These two that I'm highlighting, well, that red one and then this one here, these are the last two, the most northern parcels that they own. And then just to give you another idea,
Where this yellow demarcation is versus the gray, that's technically not a property line, or it is?
It's the train track or the road, I think.
no,
Right
it's
here?
not, it's not a, this is a property line, the gray, the gray is property lines, the other change in color is, change in zoning, right?
Carrie, what's the dotted line off to your
I
right?
think these are trails.
Okay,
But I just want to show you, and this, you have to keep in mind, this aerial view is from 2016, so we're well beyond this. But just to show you how far they've gotten. So they've quarried, I think they're well beyond this. I don't know exactly how far, but I think they're probably even like maybe halfway up here.
So is that town property that's owned up on the hill, or is it at the bottom of the hill?
to your left.
Town property is here. Oops, shoot, sorry.
Yeah, but is it up on the hill on top where they're quarrying, or is it on the bottom street level?
Up on top. I think that the topography is
It's not on
higher.
top, it's partway up the hill.
Well, it's,
It's not the top of the hill. That's the Tilcon property.
no, but the town, I think the question's kind of, the topography changes, so
Yeah, it's the bottom of the hill.
the town owns this parcel that I'm highlighting right now.
Yeah, and is it street level?
No.
It's halfway up the hill on an incline, or is it all the way at the top, level with the quarry?
So this is going to make your brain hurt, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So these are contour lines. So this property is, you know, I mean, you can look at these elevations over here, like 400, 415. So then it starts to go down,
Okay.
and then this is like 200. If
Here,
I,
where's 22 on this?
to the left, way to the left.
So wait a minute, so so the town owns a property in the
This is,
middle
yeah,
of nowhere?
way up landlocked,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like,
So look, so what I've highlighted now is good to go.
Oh, wow,
This
okay.
is their parcel, so you can see, good to go is this large flag-shaped parcel.
Good to go, meaning cat and chew?
Chat and chew, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry, I'm confused.
So Carrie, let me ask you a question. Why don't has Tilcon ever wanted to buy that property? Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
Well, let me see who
I
owns
mean-
this one. Oh, this is privately owned.
That is so random.
yeah, it is. So how do we end up with property in the middle of nowhere?
Well, the town probably owned a lot of these, maybe going way back, you know, let me
Yeah, but I mean,
see.
it's not even connected to anything. It's like,
Right.
it's like building a bridge in Alaska that went to nowhere. Okay, well, that doesn't make sense.
Well,
Okay, but either way,
I'm just curious now, because we're looking at it. So the town purchased this in 2013. Maybe they got it through like back taxes or something, I don't know.
okay.
Oh,
Well,
it was,
either way, back onto the main subject.
Yeah,
I mean, does anybody have an issue with that?
what was the question? I've been looking at too many maps.
Changing the.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm just kidding, yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
so, all right, so I will suggest that they just include it in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, one thing I would ask somebody is, from the town, or ask Mike, to say, why don't we make a proposal, or have Tilcon do a proposal on that space? Because it's not doing us any good.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, if we get $1 for it, there's not $1 worth of usage there unless, I know of.
right.
So maybe ask Mike, that might be something that we can sell and take some money and either put it into open space or, fund or whatever, because it doesn't make sense,
Right.
just to have it, so, whatever. But just a thought.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing this screen now, so. Ron, get ready, we're back.
What's that?
I just wanted to make sure Ron wasn't still having his drinks.
Exactly. I noticed his hand gestured as he put it out of the way. I could still see the little umbrella there, Ron.
There must be no wind there because those clouds haven't moved in the last 3 hours. All right, so anything else, Carrie? What do we have? We have upcoming schedules or whatever?
Yes, so I do not have any other items right now. I don't have any current applications at this time, but our next regularly scheduled meeting would be April 16th, and given the state of everything, I would imagine it would be another virtual meeting like this evening.
So one question I have, Carrie, when we have multiple people here, I didn't notice, but when did Ed join?
At the beginning.
He was on the very beginning.
Okay, because I didn't click to see who else was here. I
Oh.
didn't hit the thing. So one thing we should just ask people, if it's not their thing, if it's not their application, it's not a public hearing, if they just put themselves on mute, so.
Right,
I mean,
okay.
It's not a big deal. Now, are we also gonna offer this, to the public as well?
So right now, how it's working is that it's a public meeting because right now we're being filmed through Totucket TV and their Facebook page, like we always are.
Right,
And so they are just, filming my screen here in the council
Right.
chambers. If we have a public hearing, what town council has done is they have, right, Alex is asking the same question. They have an email where people can email in questions, so I would just have to monitor my email as well. But then there's also, we have a conference phone here, so people could call in with comments or questions. And then I could like put people on hold, I guess. I'm not as familiar with how that one would work. Other towns have been giving out the Zoom ID and password. And the town has a subscription, I understand, so I don't know how many people we're limited to. I've heard 50, I've heard 100, but that could possibly get a little tricky in one sense, but I think it's working for other towns to just have members of the public join a Zoom call. It's kind of nice just having it be the members and I would say the applicants though. So Alex is asking, when would the next public hearing be possibly? I would agree, it would be a month or two. Just due to advertising requirements. The soonest we could have one is realistically like a month out. So,
Carrie,
hopefully
Carrie,
this will
as
be
the
cleared
host,
up.
I know what some of my kids' teachers do when they're on Zoom. You could stop. I know Alex is chatting tonight because he doesn't have a mic, but you could also stop people from being able to chat with each other. If we ever do go down the road of opening it up to the public and having many people, you would probably want to stop the chat feature.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, right. Generally, just, do you have any feedback on like what worked, what didn't work?
I think it worked pretty good. Okay, go ahead.
I think it worked great, but I don't know if it's because I'm just used to doing it for other reasons, but there was like, somebody was on here and it was just a phone number. I know when somebody comes to the meeting and it's somebody sitting in the audience, we don't have to know their name, but part of me, I don't know, if I just would like to see names. I know we can't require that, but that's just one thought I had.
And I tried to set that, because I can as the host, to require that participants enter in a name. But that's only through if they sign on to Zoom. I don't know how it would work with the phone. And then also, if we're doing it through Totucket TV and Facebook, I would have to monitor Facebook Live as well.
Yeah, I know we can't require it probably because you could come sit in the audience and you don't need to give your name.
Right. Well,
But obviously they know the rules if they speak.
New times, new things, new times, if somebody wants, right now, unfortunately, you gotta sign up, put your name on here, so, but. Yeah, Carrie, I would think that for any public hearing, table it down to like maybe one, maybe two ways to communicate, whether it's Zoom, Facebook Live, because I don't think we can do everything.
No, I agree.
Or even limit to one.
I say one, yeah.
I would say if they don't want to join, if we can't let them join Zoom, then have them email, maybe you, and you can monitor your email as you go through. Yeah. But let's make it so it's not cumbersome, because it's going to be hard for you to communicate with us and then keep on checking your email. I'm not sure what the right solution is.
Right.
Whatever you're most comfortable with, I would go with just that one, whether it's Facebook, whether it's let them join Zoom, whatever it might be. But I think we'll rely on you to make that call.
Okay.
Yeah, Alex also says public comment by email, but also if you're getting public comments from multiple sources, there's only so much you could do at once.
Right.
If you accidentally miss somebody's comment that upsets them, I would lean towards you could submit public comments by letter or by email.
And if nothing else, I think like our practice of having at least 2 public hearings, again, hopefully we won't have to do this into like eternity, but if we do have to operate this way for the next however many months, we may want to just have 2 public hearings just to provide people with ample amount of time to participate.
Yeah, I was thinking that's a good solution.
Also,
You can watch it back and prepare your questions for the next time, because you'll have an idea what the applicant was. Yeah. Sorry, Jenna, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was going to say Town of North Haven is going to consider using call-ins because not everybody, especially your elderly, know how to work Facebook or Zoom.
Right,
So that's just another thought. You may have an open telephone line, have just somebody call in.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good idea.
right.
And the other thing is, from now on, everybody has to show what they're wearing, Ron.
What's your name, Jared from State Farm?
I saw some sand in those toes.
I don't know if it was sand. I'm not even gonna go there. Never mind. Never mind.
Okay, I didn't want to say this, but it's the first time I've ever come to a meeting without shoes or socks on.
All right.
Hey, Carrie, would, the lawyer, could the firm we use, I know, they're trying to figure out a lot at this point as well. I wonder if they could have some feedback about doing this virtually and,
Good point.
have some forethought and common sense about what to do or not to do to avoid trip ups or lawsuits. If they could put together a quick look out for this.
Right, right. No, that's a good idea. I'll definitely touch base with her. And they're working with a lot of towns.
Janet, I like.
Yeah, because how do you know if one person says, oh, hi, I'm Janet Crean? You don't know if I'm really Janet Crean.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Or even like Harry was doing today, he made sure we all said our name in the roll call vote. Again, just their expertise from doing this for so long and the direction this is going in. Is there some more common sense procedures we should or should not be doing to avoid a potential X, Y, and Z? I'm just curious if they've brainstormed this amongst themselves or colleagues.
Well, and I think another reason for that roll call is that if someone is just calling in and they don't have access, like Janet was saying, to video conferencing, they're not going to know everyone's name, or voices, I mean. So it's just trying to figure out how to level the playing field for everyone. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion on groups that I'm part of, even saying it's not fair for people who don't have access to Wi-Fi. How are they supposed to dial into a meeting? And that's where I think the phone line is a good option. So that may be one way to go.
So Carrie, if they dial in, they would dial in with the Zoom number, and then they would come through. Okay, can you control that? Or if they dial in,
Yes.
they can listen. They can listen anyway. Yeah.
Well, they can listen, but also as the host, I have access to the participants, so
Right.
I can mute certain people. And it's just, so I can see everyone
You
who's,
can use everybody.
I can mute everyone, right.
Yeah. So you basically can leave us unmuted and mute the audience. Yeah. So that's probably if that's the way it works, then that would be the best thing. Just give everybody the Zoom number and let them call in. Because then you don't have to monitor. You don't have to separate phone line. You don't have to monitor. You don't have to monitor email. You don't have to worry about Facebook and going back and forth. We do our normal business and we just mute everybody unless it's the public hearing. Yeah, I mean that works. I think that works.
I know on my in a school district, they were having a Board of Ed meeting and someone came on and was inappropriate, and the host inappropriate in what people were seeing, and the host also has the ability to mute and stop someone's video. We also, just in the spirit of where everything's going, we also have to be prepared for that and to be able to shut that down. Obviously, if somebody's commenting and getting upset, you let them talk, but if all of a sudden something's being seen that's inappropriate, we can block it, which is good.
All right. Is there anything else, Carrie?
That's everything.
All right. Well, Ron, it's up to you.
Well, I'm just having a good time.
Drinks at Ron's house next time.
Remember, this is being videotaped, so let's.
Happy hour's
Exactly.
over.
Yeah, it's being videotaped, so let's keep it.
Alex says you have to put your shoes back on, Ron.
Okay, everyone, I motion we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
I'm not doing a roll call. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll just X out.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
stay safe, everyone.
Stay safe, stay healthy.
Yep, you bet. Take care, everyone. Bye.